Yeah, I think that could well be the case. And Nasser El Khalifi, the president, was asked about it afterwards, and he was very coy about Barcola's future. He didn't say one way or another, but what he didn't say was he's absolutely untouchable. And I think if you look at who the lock is for that left wing position, it's clear to see that it's Kvaratskhelia, and it should be, because many people would argue right now he's the most informed player in the world over the course of the year. And then you look at up front, and they're bringing in Ferran Torres from Barcelona probably, and they've already got Ousmane Dembele. So Barcola, as much as he would want to be a starter on a regular basis, just isn't. So if they can get a hefty amount of money for him, it makes sense to do that deal, probably for Barcola as well. But the question is, who's the club going to be, and are they prepared to get to the number PSG want?
Kev, the price 145 million. I mean, I like Barcola. I would love Arsenal going for him, but that 145 million is crazy. Is that just the inflated market that we are in today? Because I feel like a couple of years ago, it would have been nowhere near that. But this summer, it seems to have just exploded and gone crazy.
Yeah, I think PSG have looked at other deals and used those as a benchmark. And obviously, if you take Liverpool, for example, they've spent an enormous amount of money on Wirtz, an enormous amount of money on Isak, and they spent a fair chunk of change on Hugo Ekitike as well, who's a former PSG player. So I think PSG are looking at that and saying, well, that's where we value him. Also, they're not under pressure to sell, because they've already got a ton of money for Gonçalo Ramos, sold him to Milan, so they've got loads of money off that. Rondal Colomouani's gone to Juventus, so they've got money from that. And they sold Kang In Lee to Atletico Madrid. So they've brought in all this cash. They're not short of a few bob anyway. No. That's the truth of it. And so they can say, well, this is our valuation. It's up to you. It's only if the player really stamps his feet, then that maybe changes the equation a bit. But at the moment, PSG are in control of it.
Okay.
2 experienced centre-backs walking out the door for free that we have to replace. That's going to take money. So when we have the opportunity to bring in money, why are we not doing it? Why are we letting players leave for free? Why are we constantly putting ourselves into a position where, as a club that needs to make every penny count, we're not doing enough in the market to supplement our own business? It's mad. And that's before we get into the fact that Hughes should have been fired. It's crazy. This window has been another letdown for Liverpool fans. And any type of hectic running around at the end of it to try and save face is just silly. There was no well-executed plan. There was no release clauses being lined up. There was no busy summer to be expected, like the journalists all told us. They were played yet again, and they won't have the neck to come out and admit it. So let's move on to talk about Romain Molina here and Ibrahim Mbaye. He said that he is on Liverpool's shortlist, but not as the number one. So the shortlist that he's not number one on, why are we even wasting time then? Because we haven't got time to be looking at anybody else at the minute. So anybody that we're working on, we should be working on with a view to getting it over the line. And the shortlist that was out there at the start of the summer has also got a lot shorter, because Said El Mal is closing in on Dortmund. Bazamana Toure has gone to Newcastle. Diamonde has gone to Real Madrid. And yet we're still nickel and diming over a fee for Bradley Barcola. The biggest priority that we have after the club ripped up the contract of Salah, let him go and let the world know that he was going for nothing. Now make that make sense to me, folks, because as a fan, I can't see how that's good strategic planning. I can't see how letting Virgil go at the end of this year and not having a replacement ready in at the club already is good planning. And remember when we were told that we didn't want to sign Bradley Barcola last year for £75 million because he was blocking the pathway for Rio. But that's not a problem this year, apparently, when the fee's £50 million dearer and we're still not bothered about blocking the pathway for Rio. That was the lie-in excuse from last summer that the club put out there. Just think these things through. If it was a problem last summer to block Rio's development, why is it not now? The answer is because they made a mess again. They made a mess with Diamonde, like they made a mess with Zubamendi, like they made a mess with Mark Gay. But I will call that out because we, as fans, are going to be the ones that suffer. Arsenal, according to this report here, could be changing tact and heading towards Victor Osimhen. He's a top priority, according to this report. And let's see if Arsenal move for Victor Osimhen in this market. L'Equipe have said, and this is top-notch journalism, Liverpool have decided that they will come back strong for Barcola in the last 10 days of the transfer window. Well, that's just magic, isn't it? So that means 9 more days of doing nothing then, does it? If we're coming in the last 10 days of the transfer window, that means nothing for the next 9 days. Then we're not even going to have a conversation, are we? We're just going to sit there with our arms folded as a club and go, no. Only with 10 days to go did we come back in. Doesn't matter that the manager needs them. Doesn't matter that we play Newcastle next week. It's just madness. And now let's finish up with a situation around the young lad from Barcelona, Fort. Apparently the price tag there is 20 million quid according to Matej Moretto, but Liverpool are looking at a potential loan. So even for the position of backup right back, have to cheap out and go for a loan rather than trying to bring in somebody that would be here for the longer term. And all that is doing, much like Virgil's situation or Alison's situation or Costa's situation or Gomez's situation, is kicking the can down the road. And it won't be Richard Hughes' problem, and it won't be Michael Edwards' problem. It'll be Andoni Iraola's problem, the rest of the squad's problem, and the fans' problem. So again, now is the time to speak up. Now is the time to have your voices heard, because we are being set up yet again for another season of frustration where the manager's going to have to overachieve to get parity with his peers who are being backed far more. No Champions League for Chelsea, no problem. Big money signings. No Champions League for Spurs, no problem. Big money signings.
But Tony, so close to a brilliant win. How do you reflect on the way it got away from you at the end there?
Well, having been in the dressing room now and watched the still picture, it looks outside the box to me. It's I'll be really interested. I saw Kevin Friend before the game, and we'll go in and sit with the referee and his assistants and Kevin and see what they thought, because the still picture suggests to me it's outside the box. But I'm not sure why the defender wouldn't handle boys. These lads aren't stupid; they wouldn't handle the ball. But if it hits him on the hand and it's away from his body, modern day football, I suppose. But it still looks outside the box to me on the still I've just seen.
How pleased were you with the way that your team have played tonight?
Yeah, all right. I think listen, we can get better, and they have to get better. We've told them that we have to be more dominant with the ball at times, more of a goal threat. You know, only scored 42 goals last season. It's not enough. By 30 odd goals, it's not enough. So where we're going to get them all from, we've done lots of work pre-season on trying to hurt teams and putting the balls in the right areas to get people into positions so that we can score goals. And yeah, they brought some of that today. We have to be better, of course, but okay. Listen, I drove up today and listened to all these radio stations and saw a bit of Sky, and all the pundits had us in relegation zone, or just about in relegation zone. It can be a motivation for people. I think, you know, having been in this league a long time, for a lot of years, I think the power of the dressing room is crucial, and you know, any motivational tool you can use, it's important. I think we're going to be fine. I think we need to score more goals, as I've said. Scored 2 away today at Wolverhampton, so you know, we've got to play Middlesbrough next Saturday at home, who I think are probably the best football retention team in the league, and we'll see how we get on, but hopefully we can find a performance level again to match tonight and even surpass it, and we can just keep pushing on and enjoying our football. I've said to them, your football career is short, you've got to enjoy football, you've got to love it, you've got to want to play every week. And
let's step back and put some structure on this, because there's a lot of noise around Liverpool's wide options right now. The football department's logic, as it's been explained to us, is fairly straightforward. Liverpool's current width options carry either fitness question marks or are approaching the final years of their deals. Rather than patch the position with a single arrival, the recruitment team have pushed for a wider solution: 2 profiles, similar age range, different strengths, both able to play off either flank if required. Financially, this is where it becomes complicated. Funding 2 major winger deals in one window requires either significant departures from the existing squad or a restructuring of how the summer budget has been allocated internally. We understand conversations about player sales to fund this exact plan have already taken place at boardroom level. None of this guarantees both deals happen. Clubs plan for scenarios that don't always materialize, and PSG's valuation alone could stretch what Liverpool are able to spend on a second signing. But the intent, from everything we're hearing, is not in question. Liverpool want 2 wingers this summer, and Barcola remains the priority name. Quick update on timeline, because people ask me this every day. Nothing imminent in terms of official bid. I want to be clear on that. Don't expect here we go in next few days. Liverpool process, historically, is not fast one. They like to build relationship with club and player side before submitting proposal. This has been pattern with many deals in recent years. But internal deadline exists. I'm told Liverpool want frontline business advanced before preseason tour begins. This is target, not guarantee. If PSG stay firm on valuation, Liverpool have alternative plan, This is why second winger conversation is active in parallel, not after. Also worth mentioning, competition exists. 2 other clubs, Premier League and one from Serie A, have also made contact regarding Barcola in recent months. Liverpool believe they have advantage because of project appeal and players' own preference, but this is not exclusive situation, important people understand this. One more thing from the Paris side that I think matters more than people realize, how Barcola himself is approaching this. Those close to him describe a player who is calm, not pushing publicly for an exit, and who has told close friends he wants any move to be about regular football and a clearly defined role, not simply about switching clubs for the sake of it. That's part of why Liverpool's project has appealed. The tactical framework being sold to him, from what I understand, is built specifically around his strengths, rather than asking him to fit an existing system. There is also a family consideration that's been raised in conversations, adapting to a new country, new league, new pace of football. Nothing that changes his openness to the move, but it's part of why any deal, if it happens, is more likely to be a considered process than a rushed one. So where does that leave us? Liverpool have identified their priority, Barcola, and are working a second winger option alongside it, not as a backup plan, but as part of one coordinated strategy for the flanks. PSG's position has softened but not collapsed. A fee has not been agreed. A second name has not gone public. And the timeline, by Liverpool's own internal target, points toward progress before the players report back for preseason, though as always with this club, patience over pace has been the approach. We'll have more as this develops. For now, the message from those inside the process is consistent. This is a live, structured plan, not paperwork. Sometimes a transfer isn't decided in a press conference. It's decided in a phone call nobody records, a line in a private conversation that somehow finds its way to the people who need to hear it. That's what's happened here. Not a statement, not a leak to a tabloid. A message, deliberate, targeted, and now, according to one of the most switched-on voices in the game, out in the open. Kevin Hatchard isn't a name that chases headlines for the sake of it. When he puts his name to something involving Paris Saint-Germain's internal thinking, people in this industry sit up. And what he's described today changes the shape of the Bradley Barcola conversation entirely. This is what PSG are actually telling people, and why Liverpool are the club everyone keeps circling back to. Let's start with what was actually said, because the detail matters more than the headline here. Hatchard's account centers on intent rather than confirmation. PSG, he explains, haven't gone to Barcola's camp with an ultimatum. They've gone with something more calculated, a framing exercise. The message, as it's been relayed, essentially draws a line under the noise. The club still sees him inside their plans, but they're not blind to the interest building around him, and they're not going to pretend it isn't happening. That distinction is important. It's not a wall being built. It's a club managing a situation before it manages them. Hatchard points to the timing too. This isn't coming out of nowhere. It lands right as Liverpool's name has resurfaced with more consistency than at any point this window. PSG, in his words, are aware of exactly which door that interest is knocking on. So rather than let speculation dictate the tone, they've chosen to shape it themselves. What he's careful to note, and this is where a lot of casual reporting gets it wrong, is that a message like this doesn't confirm a departure is coming, and it doesn't rule one out either. It's a positioning move. Clubs do this when they want control of a narrative before someone else takes it from them. So the real question becomes, control of a narrative heading toward what outcome?